Hello there, this is Michael Cross and welcome to my channel. Before I begin with today's interesting topic, I would strongly encourage you to hit subscribe, check out other videos I've done over the years, and do share this because, you know, the YouTube algorithm usually favors those who have, you know, connections and so forth. And, you know, if you're just out there just trying to spread information, it really does help to subscribe and also to share on other social media. But anyway, let's get on with the topic. And the topic I would like to deal with at this time is what's called techno-feudalism. Now, unless you are schooled in things like the World Economic Forum and some of these kinds of organizations, you may never have even heard of techno-feudalism. And the thing is that techno-feudalism refers to the idea, not very much unlike the ancient feudalism that used to exist in Europe, of a concentration of property, finances, and basically, well, everything added to the idea of technology running the whole thing. So, just to give you a contrast, if you lived back before the Industrial Revolution, you might live on a piece of property that was owned ultimately by a lord, and the lord was able to get that property allocation from their connections to royalty. And the way they operated was they expected a certain profit in whether it was cattle or some sort of agricultural produce. And the people living there were basically living as sharecroppers. They would then pay a percentage to the lord. And for the lord to maintain his, manner and, high status in society, would then send that off to the king. And as long as he stayed in the graces of the king, everything was great. And they enforced these rules through knights. No, the knights weren't always out there fighting for truth, justice, and so forth in their bright metal costumes. Often they were enforcers, not unlike a mafia enforcer who comes knocking on your door saying, you need to pay some protection money. And if you don't pay the protection money, the knights won't be able to protect you, if you know what I mean. Now, after the Industrial Revolution, these kinds of arrangements died out. And we got more into the modern economy, where you had diversification, you had a middle class, you had various people opening up businesses that all over the place, thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses that employed just a few people or maybe a lot of people. And that diversity created a dynamic economy, and one in which people had the right to be able to work where they wanted, train for what they wanted, and live where they wanted. Now, fast forward to the near future. Now, one of the things that we may see happening, well, I think it's happening, it's just a question of whether it will be stopped or not, is a concentration of wealth. Now, let's take the United States, for example. You have these financial institutions, there's 3 of them in particular, who are even buying up residential homes with the goal of owning all these homes. Well, then what? The idea of having your own property won't exist. You can't compete with them if you're just a couple starting out and you want to buy even a starter home and move on as your family grows. This is creating a situation in which people, their best hope is to have a high rent and be, their landlords, or I should say their new lords or feudal lords, will be these big financial institutions. Now, add to this, though, the idea of technology. If we have an increasingly concentrated means of production, I hate to use that term because so many people confuse that with Marxism, because that's used by Marxists a lot, but in this case, it applies. The means of production become more and more and more concentrated. It's like your media today. The big media corporations, there's like 5 of them that own all of it. Food corporations, there's like about the same number that own all of it, even though you go to the store and there's this, but then you find out they're all owned by the same company. So already we're seeing a concentration. But if you add technology to this, then everything is going to center around, you won't need those knights in their expensive metal uniforms riding around on their big horses to enforce things. You will have social credit systems. You will have digital ID. You will have your currency will be digitized. And when that happens, well, what happens if you decide to post something, if you're allowed to, on the internet that goes against the wishes of these people that own everything? Well, your bank account can be shut off. And they did that in Canada with the truckers. And there's been other instances even in the United States where people find out they don't have a bank account anymore. They can't use it. And this is what techno-feudalism will be. And if you think it's just going to be like, okay, well, I'll have a concentration of landlords and so forth. No, because they already use terms, and you can look it up for yourself. Terms like the useless class, the people that can't train to be, these super entrepreneurs or super professionals. What use are they in this new world order? Them, you can just kind of give them a nice little cubicle apartment, and they even say, give them drugs, give them video games and so forth. I guess we assume porn, maybe even sex toy, robots and stuff like that. The idea, though, will be a soft eradication. They won't reproduce. They just will live their life content, not causing trouble, because they'll be controlled. I mean, their check, their guaranteed income will be controlled. And so why would you want to, if you're one of these people, stand up against any kind of government policy? Because if you do, then where do you live except for your cubicle? And so what are you going to do? Pack up your sex robot and live out in the street? No, I don't think so. So this is what techno-feudalism would be. And this is why people need to find out what it is in more detail so they can resist it. Because there's government policies all over the United States, but also the Western world. Maybe Europe is further ahead on this than the United States. That there can be blocks put on it so that freedom will be more ensured. But you've got, people have to be informed. So anyway, again, look up some of these terms that I've thrown out here. You'll find them very interesting. Thank you, and talk to you later.